be presenting online with the CMC. The fixed field is in the MARC fixed field. This PowerPoint is in L2 at the present time, and after the presentation, the PowerPoint with the notes will be added in L2. For this session, we'll cover what the fixed field is in each format, where it is found in each format, and what it means in each format. The fixed field is the data element in each format that defines the type of material. Each record, regardless of format, will have its own fixed field. Fixed field presents itself as coded information that in many cases are duplicated in the variable fields of the bibliographic record in language form. The fixed field can only include information that is applicable to the format being cataloged. There are 8 different formats where you will code the fixed field that are unique to that particular format. The formats are books, audio recordings, scores, visual materials including video recordings, kits, games, etc., computer files, maps, continuing resources or serials, and mixed materials. In addition to affecting the opaque display, the fixed field can also help limit searching when you use advanced search features. They distinguish the format of the material and correspond with information in the variable fields. The first example is an OCLC display of the fixed field. The second example is a display using Polaris, which all of our examples will be in Polaris and OCLC. This illustrates how some ILSs display the fixed fields. Other ILSs may display differently. OCLC has the option to include a drop-down arrow to display the options available for each element of the fixed field. The use of the drop-down does need to be checked in Tools, Options, Record Display, Use of Drop-Down Fixed Fields. A hyperlink to OCLC's Bibliographic Formats and Standards, or BF and S, have an explanation and guidance for completing the fixed fields. This is an example of how Polaris enables easy coding of the fixed field. Other ILSs may use a different approach. Certain elements of the fixed field are found in all records. All bibliographic records will have a date entered and record status, which is system generated. The type of record, bibliographic level, date status, dates, country, language of item, and source are all supplied by the cataloger based on the item you are cataloging. The codes in type of record and bibliographic level characterize the kind of material being cataloged. While all combinations are theoretically valid, some combinations are never appropriate. For example, if the type is book and the BLVL, bibliographic level code for realia, is not available nor is it appropriate. Okay, this slide shows the fixed field for a book using the OC display of the fixed field. Type of record, bibliographic level, description of cataloging, and encoding level all make up what is commonly known as the leader. These elements will be in every bibliographic record, but the information in each element will not necessarily be the same. For instance, if this was a serial record, the bibliographic level, right here, would be an S for serial instead of an M for monograph. Some of the data elements that you will find on all the formats are type of date, or publication status, date 1 and date 2, language code, country of publication, and cataloging source. The DTST here is used for the type of date. For books, video recordings, and audio recordings that are not reprints, this will usually be S. To signify a single publication date. However, other options are T, publication copyright date, P, distribution production date, R, reprint original date, M, initial terminal date, and Q, questionable date. For serials, the most common DTST are C for continuing resource currently published and D, continuing resource ceased publication. The information put in the dates field will depend on the information you have recorded in the DTST. Language represents the language of the item. You can find the available codes for language at www.loc.gov/marc/languages. Country is for the country or place of publication. If it's within the United States, the state and country of publication. The list of codes for this field can be found at www.loc.gov/marc/countries. Source indicates the original cataloging source of the record. For OCLC users at authorized national bibliographic agencies, this code will be blank. BibCo and Conserve participants, except for those at authorized national bibliographic agencies, will enter C when creating records as part of those programs, and in all other cases, OCLC users will use D. Additional fixed field elements present for book format is illustrations, target audience, form of item, nature of contents, government publication, conference publication, Festschrift, index, literary form, and biography. This example of a book's fixed fields show us the book is large print. It has bibliographical references and an index. The target audience is juvenile. The book is a biography, therefore nonfiction. It is not a government publication, nor is it a Festschrift or conference. This illustration shows the correlation of information in the bibliographic fixed field and what is displayed to the patron in the catalog. We are looking at an example in Polaris, as I've discussed before. The icon on the right gives the patron a bird's eye view as to the type and form of the material, large print. The subject headings have the free-floating subdivision of juvenile literature, which corresponds with the audience and literary form. The subject headings and genre headings state that this is a biography. There is a note in the record for bibliographic references and index, and it also shows that the book contains illustrations. Fixed field elements present in audio recordings are form of composition, format of music, music parts, target audience, form of item, accompanying material, literary text for sound recordings, and transposition or arrangement. While all these elements are present in both the musical audio recording and the audiobook, not all the fields are applicable to both formats, as you will see in the examples to follow. This is a record for a musical audio recording, an opera. Since this is an audio recording, music parts, transposition and arrangement, and format of music are coded not applicable since those elements refer to a musical score. It is possible that you could have a musical audio recording that would include the score, and in that case, these elements would be coded accordingly. The item also contains a booklet that provides historical information about the opera. In this Polaris display, you can see that this is a record for a music CD for an opera by Mozart. The opera is in Italian, and it contains program notes of an historical nature. The fixed field elements for audiobooks look exactly like that of the musical audio recording, and in fact, most of the coded information is the same. The greatest difference is that type is coded with an I for audiobook instead of a J for musical audio recording. Also, since there is no composition of music, comp is coded NN for not applicable. We also have a difference in literary text for audio recordings. In the music audio recording, this was coded as blank for not applicable, but for books, we code this for the type of literature of the item. In this case, our item is a work of fiction. Here we have another example of the audio recording fixed field and how it displays in the patron catalog. Since this record is for an audiobook instead of a musical audio recording, the code in type equates to audiobook. Even though the fixed fields for scores looks very similar to the options for audio recordings, the information coded in type makes this a bibliographic record for a score. When cataloging a score, the use of form of composition, music parts, format of music, and transposition and arrangement play an important part. The literary text will always be N since this is not an audio recording. However, you could have an accompanying material, and it could be an alternate form of item such as large print or electronic. So here we have a record for the printed music of a symphony in the form of a score with 6 parts. This piece has been transposed and arranged for piano. Some of the unique fixed field elements used for projected medium, which is any type including film strips, motion pictures, slides, transparencies, video recordings, including digital video, and other material designed specifically for projection include excluding microforms, are running time, type of visual material, and technique. Also important is the projected medium fixed fields, our target audience, government publication, and form of item. In this example, the projected medium type we have is a video recording featuring live action. This video recording is 137 minutes long and is for the general audience. Once again, looking at the online catalog, we see that the G in type supplies the icon for DVD. However, an 007 is also needed. The type is displayed in the 300 field of the record and also in the MARC tag 306. This is not shown on the slide. As in all displays, the country of publication, language code, and dates are all represented in the record and need to match what is in the variable fields. The visual materials format is also used for kits. The type of record is coded O for kits, and the type of visual material is also coded for kit. A kit is defined as a mixture of components from 2 or more categories, for example, sound recordings, maps, film strips, etc., no one of which is identifiable as the primary constituent of the item. Running time is coded NN for not applicable. Technique will be not applicable even if the item includes motion picture or a video recording because the entire item is not a motion picture or a video recording. The online catalog icon displays kit, and the description will state the different components that make up the kit. Although the fixed field element for computer files looks a little different than that of books, audio recordings, and video recording, the only truly unique code is that of file for type of computer file. Form of item also plays a very significant role in computer files. This example of the fixed field elements for computer files demonstrated by code M in type of record is for an electronic game as coded in the form of item and the type of computer file. Shown in this slide, we see that type of record displays in the online catalog is video game. This icon is a combination of type of record coded for computer file and file coded for game. If, for example, the file was coded for I as interactive multimedia, the icon would display as electronic resource. Type of cartographic material, projection, relief, and special format characteristics are the unique fixed field elements for cartographic materials. In this scenario, the type of cartographic material is a map series. The projection is transverse Mercator, which is a projection that is widely used in national and international mapping systems around the world. The relief is in contours and spot heights, and the special format characteristics is coded regular print map as opposed to a wall map, which would be coded with an O. Here's a look at what the online catalog would look like for a map with the fixed fields coded from the previous slide. Type of material is coded E, so that it gives us the icon of map. This map includes the transverse Mercator projection and is drawn showing reliefs of contours and spot heights. The map is also in French and English, which you can see in the note. Of all the different formats, serial has the most fixed field elements, with many of them being unique to serials. S/L is for entry convention, whether the serial is successive, latest, or integrated. ORIG is for the original form of the serial. SRTP means the type of continuing resource, and ENTW is whether the serial is largely of one type of material. The frequency and regularity of the serial is also coded. ALPH is for the original alphabet or script of the title on the source item upon which the key title in MARC tag 222 is displayed. If no key element is present, the code value may relate to the title proper in MARC tag 245. This data element is mandatory for bibliographic records created or updated by centers participating in the ISSN network. For other non-ISN network records, it is optional. This is an online serial in a newspaper format using successive entry cataloging, meaning a new record is created each time a title changes or a corporate body used as a main entry or uniform title qualifier changes. The serial is a weekly newspaper that is published regularly. Since the DTST is coded D, this continuing resource ceased publication, and we have the beginning date in dates 1 and the ending date in date 2. Since this is an online serial, bibliographic level plus form, the icon generated is ebook. The term ebook does not give an indication that the record is for a serial, so you have to look at the variable fields or the body of the online record to understand the serial nature of the work. The genre term newspaper is present in the record with the frequency of weekly. Since the type of date publication status is coded D, continuing resource ceased publication, we have the beginning and ending date in MARC tag 264 and a note stating such. This is a screenshot of a serial record in book format. The only difference is form is coded blank, so the icon appears as serial. Here we have a legislative biennial publication with a regular frequency using the successive entry convention that began in 2006 and is still being published. Mixed materials have the least amount of fixed field elements, and other than type being coded P for mixed materials, the only other distinguishing field is BLVL, which would be coded C for collection. A made-up multi-port group of items that were not originally published, distributed, or produced together. As stated before, the bibliographic level is coded for a collection, which often means that you will have date status coded for inclusive dates of all the objects in the collection. Use date 1 and date 2 for the earliest and latest years of covered. If a single year represents the inclusive dates, enter that year in both date 1 and date 2. The icon generated for mixed material records is archival mixed materials. In the description, you can see there are 21 items, and in the summary is a listing of what is in the collection. Here's a list of the resources used in this presentation: MARC 21, BFS, and Understanding MARC 21 Bibliographic Records presented by the Nebraska Library Commission, Week 6, Spring of 2016. Thank you for attending this presentation. On the call today, along with myself, is Ian Anderson, Shelley Stone, Vince Andrzejewski, Edie Elliott, and Dr. Pamela Thompson. Please remember to complete the evaluation form found on L2 under My Events. At this time, we will entertain any questions that you may have on fixed fields, and as time allows, any questions you may have on any other cataloging issues.
Hi, Sherry. This is Pam. We don't have any questions so far.
Okay.
So anybody who's attending, you can either type your question in a chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask it verbally. Oh, okay, hang on. We've got a question from R. Brady. Sometimes, though not often, there appears in bibliographic records for print resources without accompanying materials a 006 field, which appears as such, 006A000 space 0, which in this case would seem to simply duplicate the information already in the fixed field for type of record, which is type A language material. A 006 such as this would seem to be unnecessary. When it appears on the OCLC master record, I just leave it in. Is that the best practice? Sherry.
I would leave it in the OCLC master record since it's not our record, but I don't really see a need for it when you bring it over to your own platform, unless for some reason one of their platforms uses it, but it is a duplication.
So for a local database, you don't think it needs to be in there? Okay, okay.
But I wouldn't touch the
OCLC
record in the master record.
Right. Okay, are there any other questions about the fixed field elements or anything from Sherry's presentation? And while we're waiting for questions, just a reminder that on February 21st, we're going to have Peering into a Cloudy Crystal Ball, the Future of Cataloging, and Edie Elliott from our Edwardsville office will be presenting that. And then we're going to have a couple more sessions this spring, and then we'll start another round of 6 from August of this year to January of next year. And we'll get those posted soon. So are there any other questions about the fixed field elements?
That must mean my presentation was so good that there's just no question.
It covered everything.
It covered, you could possibly have a question about
Well, if you don't have a question about fixed field elements, if you have any other cataloging questions, you can certainly ask them now, and we will try our best to answer them. And while we're waiting, don't forget to fill out the evaluation on L2. We're looking for any feedback, future topics, etc. Really? There was only one question? I find that hard to believe. I should have come up with something stunning. Okay, here we go. Oh,
yes, there will be. There's copies of the slides right now on L2, and after the presentation, I'll put on the copy of the slides with the notes.
And we will add a link to this recording to L2, and then I'll also send out an email to everybody who's registered with the link. But that's a good question because I don't think we did cover that. And the recording should be ready in a day or two. Okay, Dina said she would love a session on cataloging foreign language materials, specifically books. Okay, thanks, Dina. Okay, are there any other questions about fixed field elements or cataloging in general, or any topics that you would like us to cover in the future. Jay Simmons says a webinar on the 041 tag would be useful for us. Okay. Thank you. And Al Thompson says, all good for now. Thanks for all your hard work. You're welcome. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, then thank you for registering. And somebody, Jay Fortzis, wants original cataloging of rare books.
Ooh.
RSA, we are doing genre headings in May. Yeah. But you don't know that yet, but we will be. That's on our schedule. So, but thanks, that's a good one. So cataloging of rare books, okay.
Send them to the CMC if they qualify.
That's right.
Then you don't have to do them.
That's right. Okay, so if you have any other extra topics you want us to cover in the future, or this is your last chance to ask any fixed field element questions or cataloging questions. Okay, well, thanks for attending, and don't forget to register for the Future of Cataloging for February 21st if you haven't done that already.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.